day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. I'm back again with the final build series here on Eve Echoes, and obviously we know what ships are about to hit us. The beasts of all beasts, the faction, I accidentally closed them. The faction frigates. Now obviously I'm going to be starting with it in order, and the first one to actually touch on is the Worm. Now here's something to note. These builds are my best suits to these particular ships. I know that some ships are better at other offensives and other particular techniques, but please bear with me. This is as best as I can make it. Yes, I know the Gila, the Worm, and the Raven are master fighters with drones, but the way in which I build them will support their drone attack. And please bear with me that these are the only things that I can do when it comes to this. Obviously we can see where everything is on the ship. So let's start off with the first thing. The roll bonus for the ship, regardless of what level you have, is 200% small drone damage and small drone effective health points. So we know that the drones on the ship are equal to double damage and double health. That blows them up into proportions that we weren't even ready for to start with this particular ship. That means it only has 2 drones, it's more like it has 4 drones. So it is a drone boat. The next thing is the advanced small drone operation gives you plus 10% small drone damage. Now this is going to blow up that firepower way through the roof, and plus 1 kilometer command range. Now obviously with this here you understand that you're getting 50% extra damage and 5 kilometers extra range. If you have the right research done on your drones, this here will really push things to the limit, and you definitely have an edge in combat. Now please note, whatever you do with your fittings will affect this ship. So if you follow my fittings, remember there's some things which I am going to say about this that make it not suited for everything, even though these are unbelievably fantastic vessels to run around with. The next thing is advanced frigate command will give you 50% kinetic damage on missiles or torpedoes, 50% thermal damage on missiles or torpedoes. That means that this ship already has a massive boost to missiles. So think about that very carefully. The next thing to add to this entire boost is a massive shield resistance. So with 5 times the 4%, it's a 20% shield resistance added to the ship. That makes this here a massive shield tank. Don't worry about the stats within the ship. You will follow onto this building program for it. Remember, your level of build affects where the ship is at the end of the day. Now overall defense, as you can see, it has 4,561. This puts it in the same class as a standard cruiser. Now I hope this here sinks in very well. A standard cruiser, not an advanced cruiser. Standard base level cruisers that you start out with are around this power. That is where its power lies, and it also is a very, very fast, very, very agile, very, very tanky ship. So make sure that you keep that in mind, plus the fact that it has that heavy firepower from both drones and weapons on board. Remember, 2 drones, 2 weapons. So 2 high, 2 drones, that makes a massive difference to its overall firepower. Okay, flight velocity of 354 meters. This does not improve much on speed. The speed is very low compared to other frigates. It isn't going to be the absolute beast. But one thing to note is it has a 3x3 in engineering. So 3 engineering rigs, 3 navigation rigs. That means you can really augment the ship big time. Right. The next thing to note about it is it has a 64 megawatt power grid. Now keep the power grid in mind. You're going to add a total of 25 plus about 50% to that power grid. So you're going to get another 32 megawatts to this entire power grid. That's going to take you up all the way to 96 megawatts of power. 96 megawatts is quite a big amount of power for the small ship. And remember, if you are building it and you are using it, make sure you have the highest possible level gear you can attain. So B class all the way. If you cut down anything lower than B class, the ship isn't worthwhile for you to use. You are far better off just going around with one of the standard ships with the regular gear on them and the lower class modules. If you are building the ship complete with the modules that are in the game right now, you can expect this ship to cost you well over 1.2 billion for a frigate. It is one of the most expensive entry-level ships that you can fly. It has an 858 gigajoule capacitor. It's through the roof. It has a cargo hold of 260 cubic meters. It's absolutely tiny, and it has a very small scan radius. Now, the big thing about the ship, and I want you to please note this, it's good at taking out other vessels. It's not really good for taking on story missions. Even though it does have good enough firepower, if you take this thing into anything past a T6, you are going to incur heavy damage. There are one or two ships that are built for the higher level missions. This simply is not. So let's get into this immediately with the build, going on to the drones and the weapons. Okay, let's start with the weapons actually. So we're going to stick with small missile launchers. We're not even going to go up any class. We'll go straight to B type. And if you look at it immediately, we can see it's 8 megawatts. Times 2, 16 megawatts of the grid is knocked off instantly. Remember, we have quite a large power grid on this here. Everything matters when it comes to what we put onto the ship. So immediately 16 megawatts to the win for this here for the weapons. Now another thing to look at it, to look on this side of the ship is the DPS. Remember, your research into missiles is going to affect this, and if your firepower is higher, that means you can output more damage. A very high damage frigate means that you can take off into combat a lot earlier, and you can affect players a lot more than other players will. You will put them into panic mode a lot sooner. 4,500 with that low speed is definitely going to be a negative, but you can beat that speed quite easily by augmenting it with the right fittings. So let me just show you exactly where you're going next. Next is drones. Now you have two options in small drones. I don't think that the Imperial Navies are out yet, but you can get your hands on Mk9s. Right. Now you're going to have to choose your drones based on where you're fighting with it. If you are fighting in PvE, right, this is the most important part. Remember to figure out which enemy you're facing off against. If you're facing against Caldari, you're going to use kinetic damage. If you're facing off against Minmatar, kinetic damage. If you're facing off against Amar, using kinetic, static damage, electric damage. Nonetheless, whatever it is, obviously you know your 4 slots. If you go with the wrong damage type against the wrong faction, you will lose. Remember, shields have are weak against electric assault, while armor is strong against electric assault. So remember to change your drones up appropriately. Drones are really fast and they have good optimal ranges and control accuracy falloffs. As you can see, remember to keep this in mind when you're building it. As you're looking at it, it's only 2 megawatts. If you count the two put together, it's an additional 2 megawatts to your entire system. Okay, so counting that up, it's 2 megawatts to your entire system, plus the fact that you have 16, you had 18 megawatts. You have 18 megawatts to run 3 mid slots and 3 low slots. Sorry, 18 megawatts gone, and you still have low slots and mid slots. Oh wait, I'm on low slots, not mids. Sorry. Now, this is where things get very, very difficult and hard to handle with these small vessels. Number one, you could always use a Weber Fire. Predator class is going to be the best. It's 1 megawatt apiece. Warp disruptors are an option, but this isn't the ship for warp disruptors, so leave it out. You're going to either go with double Predator stasis Weber Fires, or you're going to go with the target painter. But nonetheless, this is purely up to you as an individual. The next thing which is very important is Nosferatus or Nosferatu. You can do a small focus. As you can see, it's 9 megawatts. That'll take you up to 27. You still have more than enough to fit on your low slots. But please note the following. If you are going to go with a small Nosferatu, you can drain your power very quickly through this item, and you can keep yourself fully powered with your shields running non-stop in combat. You could also jump up one level to a medium. No, sorry, not this one. To a medium. It'll knock out a massive portion of your power grid, but then you have to be very careful about every other item that you put on. A lot of people over rev their systems with Nosferatu 1 or 2 classes higher than their ship. Be very careful about this if you do decide to go with this method. I would strongly advise against putting the Nosferatu on, because it can crash your entire system. Right, that's the oversized Nosferatu. The standard size is perfect. Neutralizers don't work in PvE, but if you're going to go for PvP, you could decide to go with the neutralizer. Isn't the most effective thing to do, but it does hurt people who run shield defense. Okay, as for your low slots, remember you have a massive shield boost. First thing you're going to do is go for a small B class shield booster. 6 megawatts. So if you went with the Webifiers and the Nosferatu, you're going to be at 29 plus 6, 35. You could have went with double Nosferatu, which I wouldn't advise on, but you could have went that route, in which case you would have been at 28 plus 12. It'll take you up to 40 megawatts. You still have plenty of room to complete this build. Now, the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to put a shield hardener on. Remember, you have 20% resistance. Now, the shield hardener is going to be a B type as well, Pithy B type, most probably 1 megawatt. And there you go. You're now way safe. You don't have to worry about what your last item is. You have plenty of excess power to power up whatever else you want. So you're going to go straight down to afterburners. I am not going to go with a micro warp drive because of the fact that people can just disrupt you, and if you run it in PvE, you're just going to get disrupted and it's going to interfere with your entire play. Go all the way down to B class. Remember, B class is heavier than everything else. 16 megawatts, that's your small 16 megawatt added on, and congratulations, you have a fast beast of a ship without overexpending anything so far. Now, there are 2 things to note on the next part. Your combat rigs. Remember, you have an overwhelming advantage with your drones. So augment your drone damage, augment your drone fire rate. Now, with those 2 being augmented, you'll throw your fire rate and your damage through the roof. You already have a bonus being added to them, on top of the fact that you only have 2 outputting the damage of 4 total drones. So you have the damage of 4 drones, the resistance of 4 drones, but the capability to grow even further. If you add in that 50% bonus to your damage, that means you're outputting the equivalent damage of 6 drones. And if you add in the right bonus to your damage, you increase that number. If you can get it to 7, hooray for you, you just push yourself through the roof. If you can get it all the way up to maximum damage, to ridiculous figures, there you go, brilliant for you. So drone damage increasing and increased drone fire rate, those are the 2 things that you want for them that will improve your ability to take on enemies a lot with the ship. Now, the damage output that you do put on should be from the highest level drone that you can equip. Remember, it doesn't matter if the Navy class of drones comes out, build them, equip them, and use them. But until then, we have to use MK9s. I will be saying use your highest level gear available for these vessels. All of your faction vessels should always be outfitted with the highest level. So your rigs on the ship should be level 4, not level 3, not level 2, not level 1, not prototype. Level 4 all the way, nothing less. Now, in terms of navigation, 2 for your control speed, and 1 to your boost on shield regeneration. Now 2 for speed and 1 for regeneration is quite a simple reason. When you have that boost to regeneration, more regeneration for less power, that means you can leave your shield booster running non-stop through combat. You could fight off a T7, possibly a T8 wave with this vessel, and you can shred small ships quite easy with this. The drones will output about, 70 per drone at the bare minimum, and then you're doubling it, so that is 140 for each of your 2 drones, 280 per hit for your 2 drones, plus you have to increase it with whatever boost that you have. So you're looking at about a 500 a hit on a small ship, plus you still have your weapons being added to it, so another 100 to 200. And considering the amount of fire time that you have and that you're faster than big ships, if you use this ship against the small ships correctly, you could wipe out all the small vessels in a T8 encounter before the big vessels lock onto you and actually apply enough damage to destroy you. Remember, battle cruisers and battleships can 2-shot you if you get stuck in enough Weber fires. So be very careful about that when running around with the ship. In terms of PvP, you can use the ship to really dominate most vessels. Because of its small size and your high firepower, you will make people panic a lot, because you will take a lot of reduced damage from your angular momentum around objects. You don't have that heavy turn-off speed, so when they hit you, you will definitely be advancing with higher amounts of optimal speed. Weber fires are your enemy. Most people will disrupt you, so you can't warp away. And a disruptor isn't going to hurt you too much. You can keep firing. You will be able to beat almost any ship, except for 1 or 2 exceptions, like for example my killer Drake. The Drake is set up for small vessels with a double Weber fire and a target painter to blow up your signal and allow me to apply more damage. That makes vessels like Worms, Dremels ineffective against that vessel. So yeah, that's everything that I had about this here. I hope that you all do enjoy, and I will catch you all in the next Frigate World.